Hello and welcome back to Movie Bears with Farx Brothers. We're still sharing a mic. This is Kirk.
This is Kyle.
And we're back here with Mick Lynch and Nick Palodichuk.
Got it right.
Oh, thank God. All right, now we're diving into the spoilers. I'm sorry, I keep reading Joe. Now I'm looking at an asshole.
I don't know. I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm right in front
right?
of you.
You look like a Bob Dylan.
Yeah, you look like a real Bob Dylan here.
It's okay. My name's Joe.
Well, we're here to talk about Complete Unknown, and we're diving into spoilers territory.
So what was that thing you wanted to say earlier about like a decision he makes or something like that? Let's start there, Young.
I think that I kind of did. I think that the whole movie is kind of built around his decision to leave the folk movement.
I disagree with you because we're supposed to disagree. This is a bait
How
show,
dare
not a review
you.
show. I don't think he ever thought he was in the folk scene. It was just part of what his music was most closely associated with.
You're right. Yeah.
Damn it, don't agree with me.
I guess, okay. No, I need to rethink what I'm saying here because you are right about that. I guess, I mean, I think the whole movie was built around his decision to go against what everyone around him was saying, which had been kind of what the little decisions in his life had been building up to. But I feel like this was such a massive change, and it's kind of about I don't know. To me, I thought that movie was about kind of staying true to the way that you change as a person and not feeling like you have to ignore any change that happens in you or to you as a person just because the people around you expect you to be a certain way. And I think that that's something that Bob Dylan has kind of always represented to me, and I think it's just really cool. I think that what's really interesting about Bob Dylan to me is that he has been a bunch of completely different people throughout his life, or at least tried to seem like a bunch of completely different people throughout his life. And I thought that this movie was about one of the first major times that he really committed to I kind of saw this movie as being about him committing to that, because you see things like that happening with him saying that he's from the circus and stuff, and he is a liar throughout the film and kind of an unreliable narrator. But I thought that what that movie was about to me was about him learning to just always just show whatever he's feeling artistically and go the direction that the art is going, rather than, because it kind of starts off as him just sharing his art, and then he becomes to these people a poster boy for the folk movement at the time. And you're right, he never wanted that. And he didn't even want to really be just a folk singer. He didn't want to be considered a folk musician. And I don't know, I think that it's just kind of was a really interesting exploration of expectations in art and what artists owe their audience.
Can I add on to that?
Please.
A short thing. I think that was the whole point of the scene in the restaurant with him and Sylvie, when on the day that they first met and they were talking about change, and he corrected her and said, it's not a better version of someone, it's just a different version of someone, and whoever they want to be in that moment. I think that was kind of showing what was going to happen with this character throughout the movie, and that he just wanted to be a different person, so he was.
You disagreed with me in the non-spoiler section about saying that it valorized him being a jerk. I've thought of a self-bait, which I'm not going to do now. I'm going to take my original position and go, I don't like how he works with his colleagues and how it's depicted in this movie. I think it valorizes a person not being communicative with those around him. Hey man, this guy was your mentor and has done a lot. You've stayed in his home and you're causing a scene for this guy, his wife. It's specifically speaking of Edward Norton's character, Pete Seeger. And why can't you that you can't talk to your peers and try to connect with them is something I don't like about, I didn't get his music when I was a kid, and I still don't feel like I get it. But the people who are like, oh, I love this, it's you love this because you like that someone's being unique for unique sake, and you want to be unique for unique sake, but I expect to be disagreed with.
I think that's a pretty good point to, sorry, no, I can't believe you would say that to me after everything that we've been through together, Kyle.
Right, I'll disagree. I think Bob thought he was on a pathway, and rather than thinking about what have you contributed for my assistance, now it seems like you're becoming an obstacle for me. And so Right, where you think like, how can you've been hospitable to me, and now you're treating me like this? Where I think Bob is treating like, okay, you could take that from his angle. I want to do this way. Please just get out of my way, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Right. My one main criticism of the movie, it just feels like they hit all the hallmark markings of a musical biopic, right? We have the studio session turns into a fumbling, and all of a sudden we get a hit out of it. We get a tumultuous relationship in one epic. We have a almost like a love triangle happening.
I really hated that too.
Yeah.
Not the way it was depicted, that it happened.
No, we have all these kind of things that you almost get your checklist out, and you get, we hit this part. And I think that was more crucial than just having overall empathy, something we get from like the Johnny Cash one with Joaquin Phoenix, where we have a sympathy for Johnny Cash or his motivations. And we don't have that, which is kind of funny because Bob Dylan's a far more dimensional character than Johnny Cash is.
Wait, why do you say that?
In this movie, I think he's completely a little more presented, a little more flat, where I think if you could flush him out, he seems a little more two-dimensional. And this is somebody that we've had movies where multiple actors played him.
Yeah.
Because he's so interdimensional, which is very confusing to me that we have Bob Dylan, almost a two-dimensional character presented in the movie, where even the supporting characters are far more interesting.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
that was my main criticism of the movie. I understand the transitions, and this is the point. Everybody likes to talk about of him going to electric, but how did he get there to begin with can be a story too.
That's true. And I also think that I feel like they could have just delved more into the psychology in general. Yeah. I think they could have just gone a little more. I feel like there are glimpses of it. And I think that the fact that there are only glimpses of like what exactly he is like feeling in any moment, I think that is effective because it's true to who Dylan is, because Dylan is such a closed off person that I think it, in a way, that the movie having, only glimpses of him as a very, very, only glimpses of the true, like, deepest level of what he is thinking and what he's trying to do.
Right. Not talk about his backstory. And that's mainly because he wants to become not the story of where I came from, but always talk about where I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Bob is always trying to emphasize, is where I'm going next, not where I came from. So he doesn't really slam I came from Minnesota, does like slam Minnesota, but he's like, that was a long time ago. I want to talk about what I'm doing now.
So I'll self-bait myself.
All right.
Maybe he can't communicate his thoughts and emotions, and he's doing it through the medium of the music. So if I were to give him grace for how he acted, it would be, in the sense of not being able to communicate with his peers, not being able to communicate with his colleagues, it would be he doesn't have the tools available to him to do that. And like I said, someone between the ages of 20 and 25, their brain is still forming. And, God bless, but we've got a lot of people that have, risen to great heights of fame at that, point. And then I'm glad Bob Dylan didn't join the 27 Club or something like that,
Yeah. He didn't have a white lighter on him, I don't think is why.
A white lighter?
That was the thing with the 27 Club. You didn't know that? They all had white lighters. They were all carrying white lighters.
When they were smoking?
When they were dead, I think, but...
What?
Interesting. I haven't heard this one.
Conspiracy theory?
No, I think that everybody that was in the 27 Club carried around a white lighter.
All right.
But that's not, like, there's not a real reason
for guess
that.
What you're going to get your next birthday.
Everyone give Mick Lynch a white lighter.
I already have a white lighter that I carry.
Don't carry it on you. Next time you do.
Bad omen.
Wait, do you have a white lighter? He's going in his pocket, folks, right now. We need to see if he... Okay. Thank God.
It's in my coat.
Maybe the issue is that James Mangold set the template for a certain type of music docudrama with Walk
the Line.
Walk the Line. Because when I watched Walk Hard, the thing that sticks out about the plot of that movie to me, that is present in this movie and present in Walk the Line, is, well, I'm Dewey Cox's 12-year-old wife. But we all know he's going to meet June Carter later on, and it's going to be, is he going to get with the werewolf or the vampire? It's the same movie, right?
Yeah.
It's for the same age folks.
I
don't like that as a framing device, whereas I do like the limited time scope to try and talk about somebody as we've kind of discussed in relation to this movie.
I can debate you on him as a person.
Good. You don't know him though. That's
Bob Dylan is autistic, 100%, and I can tell you that as someone who is on the spectrum. That guy
is on the spectrum.
He's got the sauce. Well, I think that anytime
the kids are saying now they got the sauce. Oh, cool. I was
I'm
around
saying
like, hey,
now.
look at that autistic guy. He's on the sauce.
He's on this.
You should.
You should specifically, Kyle.
That's Spectrum sauce, everyone.
I think that Bob Dylan was definitely a figure that like we can look back now and say was pretty clearly had some kind of developmental issues with communication, like to a somewhat serious degree. Like you can see that in the movie, even in that what you're talking about him being a dick to people later in the movie for the most part, because earlier in the movie he will barely even like converse with anybody. And I think that that's pretty true to, how it seems like he was in real life. So I think that he was definitely a dick to a lot of the people he worked with, but I also think that he was just a really, like, had a lot of issues with communication and, like, a lot of kind of antisocial personality issues.
What I think you're saying is that it was unintentional on his part, and the opposite side of the argument would be, no, it was intentional. He's clearly a very smart person. How dare he not say, I'm going to use my electric equipment in this set. This is the music I want to play. Or, hey, Joan Baez, they've asked me to play this song. I'm uncomfortable doing that right now. No, I'm going to goof around and, not play this song. Like, that to me, if you did that as someone who has been in front of audiences.
Yeah.
Like, why would you
Say my guitar is broken and walk off the stage.
Yeah. Nothing makes me angrier than acting that way. His long fingernails were gross at one point in the movie. I don't know if that's
a real thing.
Is it?
Yeah, he had those for a long time.
Ew. They were gross.
Wait, okay, so
Dylan would grow his fingernails out.
so that he could play the guitar better?
No, because he thought it was funny.
There you go.
Where did you learn this?
I just read this
Do
the
you
other
have
day.
access to the internet, too?
Someone was talking about it in the movie.
Wow. Okay.
What if I was just lying? What if I just came on here and just like lied about a bunch of shit?
You can't edit the Wikipedia page, Mick. Come on, don't do that.
True.
Do you think, let's debate whether or not they should have sequels to this movie? Like, should Timmy do the next phase in Bob Dylan's life in 3 years from now?
I think you should do it 20 years from now.
Okay, I'll argue for it. Like, this movie is presenting a non-superhero.
Well, if you can.
See, you heard the idea and you had to argue for it, right? Because
Well,
it's a
if you
great
s-
idea.
You set up this movie, he doesn't work well with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you do a sequel where he's part of the Traveling Wilburys, where he's actually part of the band, but he's not even the star of the band?
We're putting together a team.
Right, we're doing a superhero team,
Yeah.
right?
It's a heist movie. It's like Den of Thieves Pantera.
George Harrison from the
where you
Beatles
start your
biopics.
sequel.
From the Beatles biopics that they're doing. They take George from those.
You have to do the movie The Traveling
Have him
Wilburys,
show up
but-
in Dylan 2 and say, we're putting together a team.
Yeah.
You don't call it Dylan 2. You call it, what would be
A Complete Unknown is a line from the song that is played at the climax of this film,
So you have to do a Traveling Wilburys
which
song.
is, oh my God, I'm forgetting.
Isn't it like a Rolling Stone?
Like a Rolling Stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But they couldn't call this movie Like a Rolling Stone because, is Mick Jagger
'Cause
gonna be
you
in
think-
it?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no. It's completely different kind of music.
what would they call this sequel?
a line from the Traveling Wilburys, or one of their songs. Yeah, that's.
Well, can you tell me more about I'm aware that he is at
So
one
it's a
point.
super group. It has George Harrison,
Jeff Lynne.
Oh,
Jeff Lynne,
Okay.
um,
Who's Jeff?
Tom-
What band is Jeff Lynne in?
ELO, Electric
okay.
Light Orchestra.
then Roy Orbison, and then Tom Petty and Bob Dylan. And they got together and made, 2 albums. Bob Dylan wasn't the star. He wasn't even writing the song.
Wow. I should make an Avengers movie of that's how kids will learn musical history.
But I think if you're talking about the beginning of the movie where he doesn't work well with others, and he kind of learned how to work well with others.
I think they truly did. I think they truly could do a Traveling Wilburys. Because that would actually be interesting. Because that's not like an overdone point in history. Like, not everyone knows about that. And that's a crazy thing that happened.
Yeah, you have 2 people that are actually musically went to college and got degrees in music, Roy Orbison and Jeff Lynne, and then you got other people who just started bands and making music like Tom Petty, George Harrison, and Bob. So you have people who are actually write music, study music in college, and then you have 2-3 others. You have a great mixture there.
God, I love Jeff Lynne.
That's a question I have for you, Mick Lynch. You're a music player who's like started, your own thing. Are you going to college? You've taken classes, but you're not going to college for music right now. You're just doing the damn thing, right?
I kind of am going to college for music right now.
Okay.
I'm a student on the side.
Student on the side?
I'm not a full-time student. I'm in like 2 or 3 classes at a time.
Okay.
I'm just taking online courses from Berkeley, the Boston Conservatory. Mainly just like scoring and theory classes, because I grew up, I had formal guitar lessons, but I never had formal like music theory lessons. My dad is just a lifelong musician, and he kind of taught me a lot of that growing up, but I'm kind of filling in the blanks of that now.
What blanks do you fill in that? Because I sometimes think of teaching music theory as like teaching some film theories. Like you got to watch this movie 7 times, then you'll see this or that.
A little bit, yeah. A lot of music history too, like that is like, I don't know. I've been trying to just get more into music history lately, because I've always been a huge fan of like the big, 60s folk and rock stars like Beatles and Dylan and the Stones, but I kind of turn my nose up at everything else, and I need to stop doing that.
Wait, what? Like, what do you turn your nose up that you now don't turn your nose up at?
I'm just one of those people who's like, oh, the Beatles is kind of the best that songwriting has ever been.
Oh,
so like, why do like?
He is one of those.
Oh,
We've gotten into
the Beatles kind of perfected their
heated debates
things.
on this.
Wait. What is your position, Joe? I'm interested in the counterpoint.
I don't think that. I don't.
You think there's things that are better than the Beatles?
I don't. I think that Prince is better than the Beatles, and
Hell yeah!
That's pretty fair.
And that's.
Yeah.
I think that
big
Led
show.
Zeppelin is maybe better than the Beatles. Like I think.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say Prince is
I
better.
think they are.
Why not? Why would you say Led Zeppelin isn't better than the Beatles?
I don't think Zeppelin has anywhere near the
The
variety.
Beatles stole less music.
Yeah.
Beatles stole way less music.
If you want Led Zeppelin's first album song.
I believe Nick was showing your partner a picture of the Traveling Wilburys, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I didn't even have to see it, and I knew. I did not like a lot of the adjacent historic pieces of this. I don't think of Bob Dylan as a civil rights hero. I didn't like how that was kind of integrated, and it's like, oh, he's dating a white
took you out of the
savior.
movie a little bit, didn't it? It kind of took you out of the movie, like, oh, we have to put this in. Right.
I was going to say you should argue for it. No, it's very important. Bob Dylan was on the forefront of, I don't know.
I'll argue further. I'll go the
what?
other direction. I think that this movie is kind of interestingly telling of the way that the folk movement was, in a way, kind of a white savior movement.
Okay.
Where it was a movement that was pretty much entirely led by white artists, saying like, this is the protest movement. This is the grassroots people's push for music that is, and it was shining a light on civil rights issues in a positive way, but also almost all of the people that were like Dylan and treated as the face of that movement, and the people that really succeeded because of it, are all normal white, like just boring white. Not Dylan, he's not boring, but
Joan Baez isn't boring.
Joan Baez is a little boring.
Okay. Well, how did you feel about that scene when, and I don't know if there's something to debate here, when Pete Seeger's doing his like public access show, and he's got the old blues player on, and he's like, bring me some liquor, preferably something, is it brown? Is that what he says? And like, then Bob Dylan shows up, and then that guy shows up at the climax, and he's like bobbing back and forth to the Dylan music, clearly enjoying it as like one of the few people there that is enjoying it. Thoughts? Did you see? That's where I feel like the movie kind of like, oh, hey, and also, we're bringing in some black people because like, that's going on right now.
Yeah, see, black people love it.
Wow,
And-
I don't know many black people that like, but now I want to go ask black people if they like Bob Dylan. I'm
Let's
sure
go.
there are many.
On the street with black people.
I've done worse.
Do you want to take the podcast on the road and we ask black people if they like Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
Well, it was
I will.
the most famous thing that Buddy Holly did. It was after he made the album, the first place he played at was the Apollo.
Okay.
I'm going to phrase it the way.
These folks.
These folks like my
Those people.
If these folks like my music, then I did something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of not the marker, and I think that was kind of the marker they're going for in the movie. It just seemed so forced.
I actually really loved the scene on Pete Seeger's show.
Oh, I liked the scene.
I know. I'm not trying to bait with you right now.
Please bait me. Bait me hard. Go ahead.
But they're trying to do this metaphorical emergence of civil rights as coming from a folk background and a blues background, and Pete Seeger. It's almost like this holy trinity thing.
But I think that fails when you have the black guy in the scene be
Kind of a drunk.
like jerk to the like kind of weirdly petulant and drunk.
Yeah, I guess he was kind of like, I've never made enough money kind of thing. And I mean, that's any musician, but sorry, musicians.
No. I did that in one of these episodes. I literally joked about, I made a joke like that in one of these episodes. So.
People will have heard that by this point, actually. So, yes, that's...
A lot of people, if they go back and listen, will notice that sort of what Kyle just said was a little bit of a callback to a joke that I had made earlier in one of our earlier episodes.
Most definitely. I also did not like the JFK stuff or like any of like the calling out. Like whenever you see JFK on TV, it's like, when are they going to kill him in this movie?
Yeah.
Because when they got to 1963, I was like, oh, they're going to.
Yeah.
Now's when they're going to kill JFK. Oh, I know it's November now. So.
I thought no. I'm actually. I think that they. I think they did kind of. I thought some of the historical context was pretty poorly handled in this.
Like another example.
I just thought that like Dylan was an activist, but there was no like. They didn't delve super deep into him as a person outside of a couple moments, as we talked about earlier. But then they also didn't delve a ton into what he was standing for, because like, he'll say that he wasn't a protest singer, but like he was singing every song that he wrote, almost every song that he wrote leading up to him going electric was like a commentary on some sort of political
in protest of what
situation. A lot of it was like Vietnam War stuff, but even more like importantly, he was protesting stuff that was happening in the South. In America, he was protesting the entire. He was a big force for the civil rights movement when it was happening as a performer.
I would argue that that's not present in the movie. What is more clear when he's singing his songs in the movie is that I'm telling you that I'm cheating on you, dear.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, it's weird that that's what the movie is using his music to communicate. Kind of weirdly, like it's strange. Because, like, Blowing in the Wind is a protest, like, a ton of the songs that they show are protest songs, and then they will, it seems like it's casting him in a almost deliberately negative light to a degree. Like, it seems like it's definitely focused way, way more on his flaws than on his, like...
attributes that you know of because you're a Dylan file.
Yes. Like the true positive qualities of Dylan and the true good that he has done in the world.
What is the good that Bob Dylan has done?
I mean, he actually directly got a black man that was a boxer that was falsely arrested for the murder of a woman.
Yeah, the hurricane. But that guy actually like beat his wife at some point.
Directly got the hurricane.
Hurricane did do other things. He didn't do that one. He didn't do
Doesn't
that
make it a bad thing that Dylan did.
No, you're right. I just like to bring that up.
That's true.
That
was not a good guy either.
There was one of those. That was one of the songs I was into when I was a teen. When I first started getting into Dylan.
Do you think Dylan was ever like found out that the hurricane was
not a good guy?
Not a good guy. And he was kind of like, oh shit, I should have.
Okay, I'm just gonna get my gripe out that this shouldn't have been advertised as being an IMAX movie. I was pissed about that because of the aspect ratio. I didn't watch it in IMAX, but any closing thoughts as we come to the end of the spoiler debate? I don't think we gave too much. It already happened in history, so
can't believe Bob Dylan is gonna die tomorrow,
January
16th. 2025.
That's not when these episodes are being released, but I'm glad this is going to be in there.
As of recording, Bob Dylan is dead.
Oh, no. Well, he could have died while we were doing this. We have no idea. Nick, any
I have a notification set up for this in case, but
Google alerts. Any closing Bates thoughts on this movie? It wasn't in your top
After this
20.
movie, check out The Last Waltz, which is the band that played with Bob Dylan. It's a documentary by Martin Scorsese about the band's last concert together.
The band.
The band.
Yeah, they used to be Bob Dylan's band.
Bob Dylan and the band.
Yep. And this is check out The Last Waltz. It's fantastic.
We're watching, we have muted in the background on a large company out of Seattle's that does shipping, their streaming service. We were playing the Bob Dylan movie where Heath Ledger, Kate Blanchett, who else played Bob Dylan?
Oh, I was going to talk about that. I can touch on that.
Oh, please,
For my,
please
that's
do.
that's my, like, if Nick's going to do a recommendation for if people liked that. I really did like A Complete Unknown. Like, I'll probably watch it again at some point. It's really good. As a Dylan fan, I think it was cool snippet of history. I felt like there's some missed opportunities. That's my closing thoughts. I would say check out, what you were just about to talk about, which is, I think it's called I'm Not There.
Yeah.
Which is...
I'm not here. I'm not there.
It's Todd Haynes, yeah. And it's about Bob Dylan, and it's, instead of kind of trying to tell the truth behind what he was going through at that time, it's more taking all of the different weird personas and identities that he would shift between and kind of telling a story using all of them as completely separate characters.
We're going to end on Joe saying what the most interesting part of the interview segment will be. What are people going to find interesting in the interview of your partner that is the second interview he's done with Nick Palodichuk in the room?
I think the most interesting part will be to learn more about Give Up the Ghost. I think that's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And what you do in the studio, and that you hire musicians and get live music. I think that's really cool. Something you don't usually share. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, honey.
Well, I want to thank Joe, Mick, and Nick for being here tonight to debate Complete Unknown. I almost forgot the title of the movie. I was thinking about Den of Thieves. That's why.
I was just thinking about Pantera Den of Thieves. Guys, let's go see Pantera Den of Thieves.
Do we have for sure next week?
Be Carl Swanson and Interstellar on the next episode. Stay tuned.